Hello guys, welcome back. So in this episode we are going to learn how you could unset the roles or services that has been already assigned to a user. So it's nothing but a kind of a deactivating the existing claims or authorizations that been given to a user. Okay, so if you check the database here, so the point like the deactivation is like a flag. Okay, so if the service or a role has been enabled to the user, it indicates 1. So if the role or the service has been deactivated, it is indicated by 0. So now in this episode we are going to see a method which is gonna set this thing, and an API which is gonna be invoking that method so that the user from the front end or any device can use it. Okay, for this I just already set the route. So the route is like slash unset claim. Okay, so the method is it has been called as also the unset claim. Okay, so I'm passing the post thing here and I'm getting the response. Now if I go to the authorize here, so the first unset claim here, the method it just checks for the session initially. So the first initial step we're going to do is we're going to check if the user has logged in. Okay, so if the user logged in, then only we're going to proceed, or else we're going to say him that user hasn't been logged in. So it requires a session to be. So sometimes it happens, so to make sure nothing goes wrong, so this is what happens. Okay, so now if this session is existing, then I'll be checking for the parameters like username, type and ID. Okay, so I require 3 parameters. One is username, so the user, so here in the case the username might be like some admin. Okay, so assume it's an admin, so I'll be passing admin, so I'll be getting user ID by myself. So initially it will be passed by username, and the type of the user, like, so it may be a role or service ID, so I need to pass. So if you just scroll, hold on, yeah, so here I just wrote the type must be either service ID or it is a role ID. So actually it should be and actually here, oops, I haven't making sure, it's a parenthesis. Yeah, so if it is not equal to both service ID and role ID, then it will be throwing an error. So coming to ID indicates the uh, like the ID, like for example, if I'm sending the role ID, I'll be passing the ID of the role. For example, if I want to switch off administrator role for this user, I'll be passing the ID as 1, so the user ID will be removed with that active button. Okay, so now we'll start the coding. So before we start coding, my database framework has one update here, so it is update update simple. And so initially we have an update simple which is going to take one where column and one where value. So based on one single thing we'll be setting a value of the particular attribute, but here this is going to take multiple columns, like multiple where clauses using AND operator. So logical AND will be applied between those. So why this function actually? Because the query must be like user ID should be matched along with the service ID. So only thing I need to update the operation only if there is user ID matched with role ID along with the is active. So before I set that to 0, I need to make sure that the active is set to actually 1. Okay, so only if it is set to 1, I'll toggle it like to 0. Okay, so that's what happens. So when I write the query, you'll know a little bit better. So yeah, so first thing I'll just use the result here. Okay, I'll just store the database query in the result. Okay, so this db, and then I'll be using update simple. And yeah, so the first thing here is the table name, right? So we need to pass the table name here. So the table name we are working with is this one. So it's really hard to read, so I'm copying that. Okay, so yeah, so this is the table name. So blog underscore roles underscore services underscore users underscore map. Okay, so that's a pretty long one. So the next query like parameter is the where column. So I want to set is active, okay, to the value called 1. Okay, so this is what happens here. So you could say I just passing the column name, so the column name, and a value, so it's a value, and a where clause. So where clause must be an array, so I have to make sure that where column and where value must be an array of values. Okay, So first array, it's gonna continue with, okay, so I'll be checking with the user underscore id. Yep. So the second parameter, so the next parameter is the actual this one, the role request underscore request type. So it may be service id or role underscore id, doesn't matter. So yeah, that's one. Okay, so the next thing is the actual role id. So yeah, so we are passing is active. Oops. Yeah, so actually this is set to 0, actually my bad. So we need to set the existing value to 0. So yeah, so now this is up to the where. So next we have to pass the actual values, array of, okay, the user id. I'm assuming I'll be storing that in my $uid. Okay, so I'll be sending $uid here. Okay, the next parameter here is request type. Okay, so the request type, so which is having a request id here, the values of it is stored in request id. So I'll be passing it here, and then we need to pass is active, so which is, I'm assuming it is 1. Okay, so I'm assuming the is active should be assigned to 1. But now the question is, we haven't had user id, so $uid equal to something, it must be to something, right? So we need to fetch the given username so that we could have the uid. Okay, so that first we need to write the query here, so which we have already done in previous episode, so I'll use it. So yeah, it should be around, while we set the user's role. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, so here is the query. So it is going to check the actual database and get the user id. So I'll use that here. So yeah, so, okay, so I'm passing the username to that. So this is gonna verify the username and get me the uid. So I could only fetch the uid, so that would be better. So instead of fetching all the values, okay, so length should be, if it is length is less than 1, I'll say username is incorrect, or else I'll pass it and get the uid, and I'll pass the uid here. So again I'll check for the query error here. Okay, so if there is no query error, guys, it just works like that. Okay, so the query works like that. Okay, so now let me try the postman here. So we are using unset, right? I'll just duplicate that, I'll just rename to slash unset claim. Okay, I'll just yep. So the body, right? So first thing we need to pass a username and an id, not actual id. So these type, okay, the type, and finally the id. Okay, so the username is like let's go to database and use one of the values. So user id is 4, so here it is 4, which is admin 5, so which is already, the postman has already set to admin 5, that's okay. The type, so I want to unset the service id, so which is already been set. So service id, I want to set this one here, so service id, so which is 3. So id of it is 3, and it is service underscore id. Okay, so here I'm just facing a little issue here. So the issue is the database has been set like this. So isAct2 must be I just changed a little bit here, guys. So isAct2 cannot have a null value before, so I just allowed it to have null value. So you cannot set it to 0. So if I tried it to set to 0, guys, so you could see, so if I set, try to set, it's going to throwing error because there is already a column with the same 0 value, so which is having the same parameters. So you cannot have that. So I could nullify the value and use it. So I could null the value, so it is cannot be, it cannot be used anymore. So that's how we are going to do that. For that I need to have a little bit stuff here. So instead of update simple and I need to write one more function, update simple and with unset. Okay, so here I'm not gonna pass any value because the main motto of this thing here is it is just used to prefer the value as null. okay, it is going to nullify the existing value. So that's what this method is for. So I'll just copy, and with unset, okay, so I'm modifying this with that, so it doesn't need to pass the null value here. Okay, save it, and in the database let me put back the one value here. Yeah. So now it is 1. So let's try the postman again. So yeah, you could see now yeah, the query is working. So if I refresh, it could see the value will be set to null. So if I try to change the next one, so which is the service 4, so it just works like that. Okay, so service as 4, and if you click send, so still it works. So it says data unset true, and if I go there and if I refresh, you could see that's the null value. So if I try to do like again, like if I the already value is set to null, if I try to send it again, it's gonna still say it's unset because we are not going to modify anything, so it's already been unset, so it just works as unset. Okay, it doesn't disturb the user's existing motive. Okay, so that's how it works. So you could go through the code once again, guys. So it's a little bit confusing here due to the existing disturbances here. So I just modify a little bit. So you need to import the database, so before you work out this thing. Okay, I'll provide you the backup, so as usually, so you could get the template, re-import it, and start the work. Okay, so that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned. So yep, so I'll get it through in the next episode. If you really felt this is something kind of you haven't understood, let me know in the comment section below. I'll be getting through that. Okay, bye bye.